Please enjoy this section of Lolcows, the Internet's Never-Ending Tragedy, taken from Chapter 9 on Nick Rekieta and Rekieta Law. Rekieta and Alcohol. Rekieta's first videos, I believe, were filmed in his physical office location at the strip mall. In his first video, that is still public on YouTube, Rekieta Law Breakdown Maddox vs. Dick Masterson 2, alcohol is featured in the first 15 seconds of the video. On his Twitch channel, which doesn't have any public videos, he describes himself as a, quote, small-town Minnesota lawyer with a lot of whiskey and rage to make it through the stupidity, end quote. From the very beginning of Rekieta's online career, alcohol was featured prominently. To be clear, in his early videos he did not appear drunk or heavily inebriated. In these videos, whiskey was featured as a treat at the end of a hard workday. He would drink, unwind, and talk to the audience about legal topics. Over time, alcohol began to be featured more and more. He started doing whiskey reviews in 2021, and if you go to his channel and search the word whiskey, that word appears in the title of videos over 30 times, and in the description of over 100 videos. During his rise to prominence in 2019 throughout 2022, he began receiving lots of super chats from people who would super chat him to toast. These toasts would be for past loved ones, getting a new job, birthdays, anniversaries, etc., and would be followed by a sip of alcohol, usually whiskey. By 2023, his drinking increased. He regularly appeared on camera, slurring words, losing focus, and acting strangely. He often trailed off into a meandering soliloquy that appeared to be an alcohol-induced ramble. These rambles also alienated many of his audience. For example, in one stream he criticized his church, including their production value, the singing, the liturgy, and the basic tenets of the Christian faith. He admitted it was so boring he fell asleep and had to be woken up by his wife. Many in his audience were Christian and were attracted to his image as a humble Christian family man who was active in the church. Other drunken rants about other topics also turned off the audience. His heavy drinking on stream culminated in the infamous May 2024 stream, which was the basis of the search warrant. But before this, there were other streams where Rekieta was so intoxicated he appeared rambling, haggard, and incoherent. He also almost falls asleep on stream. In one stream, worst of all, he appears to be pleasuring himself underneath the desk. He would later claim he was itchy and simply scratching himself. Drinking is no longer featured on stream because it is a violation of his parole. The nose versus the toe and other legal battles. Aaron Imholte, having heard of the arrest of Rekieta, Rekieta's wife, and his wife, then made public statements and comments on the case. Imholte began a media tour. He went on numerous detractor channels giving interviews and began to spill the beans about Rekieta. Imholte told stories of drug use, wife swapping, cuckoldry, and other debauchery. He also confirmed he was divorcing April and that she was living at the Rekieta house. April was living with the Rekietas under the auspices of being a live-in nanny, but was essentially Rekieta's mistress. These stories also included tales of child neglect, Nick's crippling alcoholism, and other shameful and embarrassing events at the Rekieta house. Imholte expressed regret at his actions in taking part in the whole affair. Rekieta, having been exposed by Imholte, started a battle against him. This was dubbed by the internet the nose versus the toe. Rekieta has a prominent Roman nose. Aaron Imholte runs a morning show called the Steel Toe Morning Show. However, these battles with Imholte only fueled more media coverage of Rekieta. Since some were legal battles, they were covered by LawTube. Rekieta went through Imholte's old episodes of his show and discovered Imholte appeared to be forwarding a compromising photo of his wife Kayla to a friend of his. To quote from the warrant, a review of the defendant's talk show from May 27, 2024, it shows defendant and GB, Aaron's friend, participating. The two of them talk about KR, Kayla Rekieta, and her tattoos. Then defendant is seen scrolling through his phone, and it looks like he is taking a screenshot and then tells GB to look at his phone. GB looks at his phone and says, "I like tattoos more than I thought." Defendant then responds, "Your boy didn't do too bad, did he?" KR is then talked about in an explicit manner. GB confirmed he received a nude photograph of KR from defendant on May 27, 2024, during the show. He described KR as standing completely nude, with her breasts fully exposed. He further described a tattoo under KR's left breast in the photograph. Later, law enforcement was able to confirm with KR that she did have a tattoo under her left breast. GB said he deleted the photo after. End quote. Kayla reported the incident to the police as revenge porn. Aaron Imholte was investigated, arrested, and charged. Imholte accepted a plea deal, paid a fine of $50, and Kayla was granted a harassment restraining order against him on April 10, 2025. In addition to this legal issue, Rekieta began telling his own embarrassing, or what he thought were embarrassing, stories about Imholte. This ranged from touting his own sexual prowess with April, Aaron's now ex-wife, implying the two had homosexual relations where Imholte was the bottom, and allegedly hacking into Imholte's computer, exposing his internet porn history and privileged communications between Imholte and his attorney. Imholte later stated the FBI was investigating. It was speculated that Imholte, while at the Rekieta house, logged into his Google account there. This was the opening Rekieta exploited. Rekieta denied ever hacking Imholte's computer. Rekieta was invited as a guest speaker to Hackamania 2025. It is a comedy and internet drama convention. At Hackamania, Rekieta leaked Imholte's and his private messages. I don't want to share what those messages are. Many of these private messages contain embarrassing and sexually explicit details. This could have been seen as revenge porn because they include sexually explicit material that was released without consent for the purposes of humiliation. Rekieta also showed up to Stoney's bar, where Imholte is either a frequent patron or co-owner. Because of Rekieta's continual attacks on Imholte and showing up unannounced to his place of business, Imholte filed his own harassment restraining order against Rekieta in August of 2025. Rekieta hired an attorney called Frank White. White's representation was criticized as lackluster and appearing unprepared, according to LawTuber Sean Martin, aka Potentially Criminal, in his recap video. Martin is a practicing lawyer with experience working as a prosecutor and defense attorney. For example, when White asked a question to the witness, and the witness began to answer, White objected to his own question. The judge appears confused and face palms in secondhand embarrassment. Rekieta was also fighting for custody of his children and was in court for his ongoing drug possession charges. He did not decide to take a quick plea deal and wanted to fight a legal battle with Candy Ojai County. In June of 2024, it was leaked by a member of Kiwi Farms under the moniker Minnesota Public Records that Rekieta's 9-year-old daughter had tested positive for cocaine ingestion with a hair follicle test. This again fueled a firestorm of media coverage around Rekieta. All of LawTube, as well as the troll detractor channels and commentary channels, covered the story. Rekieta began vigorously defending himself online and repeatedly claimed the test was not accurate. Aaron Imholte was arrested for breaking his HRO that Kayla had against him. During a 10-year anniversary of Imholte's web show celebration at Stoney's bar, one of the guest speakers, Gino Bisconte, publicly insulted Kayla Rekieta. Because this was Imholte's event, despite Imholte not saying the words himself, he was sentenced on September 30th, 2025 to 364 days in jail, but served 15 days. At his sentencing, Imholte spoke in his defense and said, quote, "In 2023, I entered into a degenerate, toxic relationship that never should have happened. I regret it and have been going to therapy. I have become a Christian and have been redeemed by my Savior, Jesus Christ. I want to teach my son to be a better man. Words cannot express how sorry I am. We loved each other at one time. Those feelings were betrayed by my actions, because of which I have had my faith tested, optimism challenged, and my reputation has been tainted. I've been laughed about, and this is my reality. If the court shows me mercy today, Gino Bisconte will never work for me again." End quote. Spectators said that Aaron Imholte's final words were, "All praise be to Jesus Christ. May God have mercy on my soul." I hope you enjoyed this section of my book. Please like and share. It helps the channel grow. Please subscribe so you get notified when the next section becomes available. The full audiobook is available on audible.com. The book is also available as an ebook, paperback, and hardcover on Amazon.com. It is also available for free on Kindle Unlimited. The link is in the description. Please check it out. If you know about Lolcows, it's a great read. And if you don't know about Lolcows, it's a great introduction where we cover Rekieta and his antics along with 5 other Lolcows. Thank you for listening. Till next time.